MyDoma Studio is your complete designer toolkit. You know this, right? MyDoma makes it easy to streamline your processes, track your projects, communicate with clients, and just get organized. It is created by designers for designers, specifically to address what you need as a design business owner. MyDoma is now together with Studio Designer, and they are the industry-leading solution. With 20,000 plus users, more designers choose their platform than any other. Are you ready to reach the next level of profitability and efficiency? Book a demo with MyDoma Studio today by going to mydomastudio.com/Luann. That's mydomastudio.com/Luann. Welcome to A Well-Designed Business. My name is Luann Nigara, and I'm so glad you found this podcast. Together with my husband Vince and our partner Bill, we have grown our company WindowWorks from the ground up. So I know and I understand the challenges you face in running your interior design business. I also know that your talent alone isn't enough to ensure your success. So on this podcast, we talk about strategies and practical steps to help you grow your business. But make no mistake about it, we have our share of fun here too, mixed in with those aha moments that I love so much. This isn't fluff. Nobody has time for that. Whether you are a new interior designer or a seasoned designer, I am here to help you create and to manage the kind of interior design firm that you dream of. It's straight talk and it's action. Are you ready? Let's get started. Hi, welcome to A Well-Designed Business. If you've ever listened to any of our Overheard episodes, maybe you caught the other episode with Darcy Heather, Rebecca Robinson, and Lacey McCallick. These ladies, like the ladies today, explain to us how they have been working on increasing their revenue and their profits and building their pipeline specifically through referral marketing. My friend and co-author in the Power Talk Friday Experts book, Volume 1, Stacey Brown Randall, is the expert who's been guiding them in this endeavor, and OMG, has it been working. Now, for the conversation today, I'm joined by Liz Walton, Amy Peltier, and Janelle Blakely Photopoulos. Liz is a nationally recognized design leader from the Philadelphia region who's built a premier luxury firm known for its velvet rope approach and concierge-level client experience. Her work has been featured in Architectural Digest and Martha Stewart Living. Amy founded her bi-coastal firm over a decade ago, bringing a unique blend of preppy style and California casual to projects spanning from Southern California to Northern Virginia. And Janelle, who's been on the show before on her own, which we will link in the show notes, leads Blakely Interior Design with bold, refined interiors across Rhode Island, up and down the East Coast, and the Caribbean. Her firm was named the Small Business Award Women-Owned Small Business of the Year in all of Rhode Island in 2020. Wowza, and congrats. Now, if you didn't catch the first episode about this referral marketing, we'll link it in the show notes so you can hear both conversations. Stacey Brown Randall runs Building a Referable Business, teaching interior designers, window treatment professionals, and other business owners how to generate referrals the right way without being icky, pushy, or salesy. She wrote the book, Generating Business Referrals Without Asking, and she's been a regular expert here on A Well-Designed Business. As I mentioned, she's a co-author in our Power Talk Friday Experts book. She has spoken at Luann Live as well as been a guest expert at my Power Talk Friday tour events. You may have seen her work featured in Forbes, Entrepreneur, and Fox Business. And her newest book came out last October 2025 called The Referred Business. It is definitely one that you need to get. Today you're going to hear how Liz, Amy, and Janelle each turned referral chaos into a clear, consistent system that now fuels their businesses. Okay? These are not theories. These are proven strategies. And what I love about this group is that they show what happens when you actually do the work. They prove that hoping for referrals and building them by design are two very different things. And the results, they speak for themselves. And what I love about Stacey Brown Randall, and honestly, which is one of the reasons that made her an obvious choice of one of the founding board members inside the boardroom for creatives, is that she does not teach theory. She teaches strategies that actually work in real businesses. And this is exactly why I created the Boardroom for Creatives. For years, I've watched creative business owners struggle with the same problem. How do you know who to trust when you need a business expert? There are no shortage of coaches, consultants, and experts in our industry, my friends. But figuring out whose expertise, teaching style, and approach is actually right for you, well, that is the hard part, isn't it? So I decided to build the thing I wished had existed for this industry years ago. The Boardroom for Creatives is a curated platform of vetted experts I personally trust. People I would confidently recommend to my private coaching clients, my Luann University students, and my industry peers. And Stacey Brown Randall is one of those ladies. So if today's conversation resonates with you and you're thinking, I'd love to ask Stacey some specific questions about my own referral strategy, then you know what? You can. You can go to theboardroomforcreatives.com and look up for Stacey's profile. The Boardroom gives you direct access to experienced experts for focused, high-level conversations designed to get you clarity and momentum in 50 minutes. Whether your challenge is referrals, pricing, hiring, leadership systems, marketing, or profitability, all of it. This is where you go when you want trusted guidance from someone who understands creative businesses. As I said, the Boardroom for Creatives is live now. You can go to boardroomforcreatives.com. All right, let's get to this conversation with Liz, Amy, and Janelle. Hey, ladies, thanks so much for joining me on A Well-Designed Business today.
Hi, Luann. This is Liz Walton. Thank you so much for having us on today. I'm a longtime listener, and it's a pleasure to be here.
Hi, Luann. This is Amy Peltier, and I'm very excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Hey, Luann. It's Janelle Photopoulos with Blakely Interior Design. Happy to be back and seeing you again.
I know. This is fun. I'm so excited to have you guys here. I'm excited to pull this topic apart because I think it's an underused, underrated mechanism for our businesses. And my understanding with a little bit of research that, you guys have been pulling together for me and sharing with me is that I'm right in this, that you guys are truly utilizing this as lead gen and revenue gen for your company. And so what I want to know is each of you just take a minute and just tell us, when did this moment happen? What was the catalyst for understanding that referrals, yes, nice to have, but were actually something that you could maximize, leverage, lean into, and, like Stacey says, create a process around it. So who wants to tell me that inflection moment and how it was for them in their business? Who wants to start with that? Liz?
I'm happy to start. So this is Liz Walton. It was 2021, and this moment is so clear to me because I can still see myself sitting at the desk. So it was still pandemic times, and we were getting a lot of inquiries. It was a very hectic time in the industry, and a lot of the calls were tire kickers, and we were sifting through who we should work with, who we shouldn't work with. We had an idea that our best projects were from referrals, but we had absolutely no idea how to get more of them. And honestly, we kind of thought that referrals were an isolated event. So we didn't know how to get more of them, let alone track and monetize them. And over time, we realized that referrals weren't just about bringing in new projects, but they were about building trust before I even entered the room.
Okay. So that's back in 21.
Yes.
All right. I'm curious. I thought you started working with Stacey after Luann Live in 23. So did you just kind of muddle it along your own way for a couple of years? And then you met Stacey and then you were like, oh, okay.
Full on blockheaded. We were it was like the blind leading the blind. We were throwing things against the wall to see what would stick, right? Like, let's try this idea. Let's try that. Well, this person hired us and maybe it's because of X, Y, or Z. We had no idea what we were doing. And it wasn't until I was introduced to Stacey at Luann Live that the light bulb went off and it was like, oh, we can have somebody help us do this without sounding like sleazy sales ladies.
Gotcha. I love that. I love that. What I love is that you had the awareness on your own, that you knew that there was an opportunity there. And of course, as any entrepreneur would, you try and solve it yourself because you're a smart lady, right? But that you eventually found the path to doing it. And we'll learn more about the results and what you did in a second. So that's awesome, Liz. And how about either of you guys, Amy or Janelle? What was your inflection moment where you're like, okay, I got to do a thing about a thing here?
Yeah. Oh, go ahead, Janelle.
I'll jump in. This is Janelle. I took a look. This is many years ago. I started working with Stacey back in 21, and it might have even been late 20. And I was looking at our data. I'm a very data centered person. So we have been tracking everything, and I mean everything, for over a decade. And I was realizing how few referrals we had. And I was like, this is a problem, because they always, you've always heard um, referrals indicate, especially client referrals, that you're doing a great job. And I knew we were doing great work, but I was sort of baffled. Like, why are we not getting the referrals that I would expect? Because the projects we're getting are good, but it seemed, to Liz's point, it just seemed more challenging to get those great projects. And so then I had to really be reflective and be like, okay, well, what is there something that we're not doing as part of our process and how we're delivering to our clients? Is there something in the communication that's falling short? And after, reflection and, attending some of your, Luann lives and, speaking with a lot of colleagues and really looking in, we fine-tuned that and felt that we really had a great client experience. We had a great deliverable. And we were missing the mark, not on that part of it, but on building the relationships with those centers of influence. And we had our heads down so much on the work that we were doing. And yes, we were delivering great work, but we weren't building relationships intentionally. And so that then became a process where we started working with Stacey in 21 and building out that referral program to look at who did refer us. And, obviously when you go back and look at the data, we found the same thing that Liz had mentioned, that most of our really great projects were referral based. Even today, I look back at our data before we had our call, and I saw 7 of our last 10 projects that we have signed have been through referral.
Nice.
So it is, it really is game changer. And at that moment, we really put in place a referral program that was an extension of what we did with Stacey in 2021. Super intentional. And I'm sure we'll go into more detail about that, but working specifically with builders and architects and realtors as our 3 centers of influence to build those relationships very intentionally.
I love that. Here's what's funny is, I was tempted almost to go to my website while you were talking, and I thought, okay, you can't walk and talk at the same time. Stop that right now. But it's funny, Janelle, because you seem to be and this is just me trivia, right? This isn't anything that really actually matters. But I thought that you were on the show pre-pandemic. So pre-2020. And I remember, if I'm not mistaken, you tell me that your whole reason for being, not the whole reason, but the main thing, that the pitch and the reason that we did it was because you had heard Stacey on the show, I want to say in 17 or 18, hired her. Mm-hmm. And that all would have been 2018, 2019. This is, again, like I said, just trivia. This doesn't really matter. But you know why? Because you know what I always remember, Janelle, about your podcast episode was you were the first one. Now, people talk about it all the time now, but you were the first person that identified the messy middle, that were like, here, you were the first person ever on the podcast to say, we started realizing, what are our touch points? You were working with Stacey and like, how can we make this memorable, easier? And you were like the first person that called out, like, we realized that in the middle, your house is getting torn up. You're writing checks every week. And I actually, as a designer, don't need to be in communication with you every week because I'm over here working my butt off for you in the background. But you realized, I understood, call me out if I'm wrong, that through the process with Stacey, that you guys all came up with, like, this is the hardest, most expensive, quote unquote, part for the consumer. And it's the one part that we're, not really communicating with them. And you were the one like, okay, so now we send gift cards for dinner if your kitchen is gutted. And we send little emails that say, no, it's really hard right now, but here's what it's going to look like. Am I mistaken? Because I have credited you with this 1,000 times.
No, you are absolutely right. So we actually worked with Stacey. I worked with her in 2017.
Okay,
maybe?
so it is.
So
I'm
I worked
saying
with her
18, 19. So 2 times is what you're saying.
So I worked with her in 2017. I might be wrong on the exact date, but
no, I think it is.
Pre-podcast. And that was a one-to-one coaching. That wasn't a referral program. That was a one-to-one coaching where we went over all areas of the business. And that's where we did talk about, so you're spot on. Your memory is incredible after 1,400 episodes, where we talked about how do we refine that client journey? How do we communicate? Do we put together a whole what to expect document?
Yes.
And again, I think going back to that process many years later where we're trying to be self-reflective, like what are we doing wrong that we're not getting these referrals? We found like we're actually doing a lot of things right. We just need to build those relationships. We need to get in front of people. So you're spot on. I thought when you were going back to our podcast, I thought you were going to bring up Jay Leno, but I was wrong.
Oh, okay. That I remember too. But I just always remember. And what's funny is I can't tell you how many times in all the years after you were on in 17, 18, whatever it was, people are like, well, and when the house is in construction and you're busy, you got to do something. I was like, yeah, I know. I remember who taught us that. It was Janelle and Stacey. And now it's common. Every coach talks about it. Every design. It's kind of like if you don't know that at this point, like, are you still sleeping? Right? Like, and so you guys probably do that in your businesses. You've learned that this is the tough part. And I remember the reason why things stick with me is when they're just like, whoa. Like I was like, gosh, that's so, it feels like it should be obvious, right? It feels like it should be obvious that your client knows you're busy every day of the week on their project in this really intense procurement time and construction time. But no, they don't know that. If you don't tell them, they think it's easy and elves are doing it, right? And then the understanding of, that is the hard part for them. That's when all the checks are getting written and nobody is talking to anybody and it all feels like it's never going to be happy. It's funny, in recent years, we've had designers who will utilize, like my one of my show sponsors, Duke Renders, that literally almost looks like a photograph of what your room is going to look like. And so now the rhetoric is, and that's about the time we send another email that says, don't forget your rendering. This is what it's going to look like. It doesn't look like that now, but it's coming, So anyway, all right, great. Amy, what was your moment of, okay, line in the sand, we got to do something about this?
Yeah, so I actually started my entire business from connections and referrals. So it was back it must have been around 2012, well before I worked with Stacey. I had moved from the Midwest. I already had my business in the Midwest, but my husband's job transferred us to Southern California. So I knew no one, no family, no friend, not a single person. So I pick everything up and I moved to the West Coast. And I had started working with a business coach, and she said to me, well, if you want to get your name out there, you don't have any clients. The only thing you can do right now is spend all day calling architects, realtors, and contractors. And I was like, really? All day? And she's like, yeah, like 40 a week. And I was like, no, like this is horrible. And she's like, yeah, if you want to get a project, that's what you do. So I was like, okay, well, if that's what I'm very naive. And I'm like, okay, I guess that's what I do. I literally did it. All day long, I would look up realtors, contractors, architects, and call them over and over and over and ask them to meet me for coffee. And I did that for 4 months straight. And finally, one architect who still refers projects to me today, in fact, we're working on a project now, amazing project, he referred a project to me. I'll never forget it. I was like, oh my God, it works.
Good for you, the tenacity to stay with it for 4 months, right?
It was
Lots
hard.
of people would have given up on the fourth day.
Realtors can be not nice. A lot of them were like, what? No. So, but that's how I got my name out, and I got a lot of advice, and I got a lot of not so good advice. And that's how I got my name out there. I don't think it's my only piece of way to bring in projects and clients. We have a great return repeat client base. and, client referrals. And just like Janelle, we track it now. And Stacey really showed me how to systematize it and make it more consistent, just like you would on any social platform. If you're going to start posting on Instagram, you can't just post here and there. Like, you got to commit. You've got to post a couple times a week, probably the same time every time per week, and just go and do the work. Don't worry about how many followers you're going to get or what's the success rate going to be. Just go do it for a year, and you'll be shocked at the end of the year because you were consistent. Let's just say you wanted to lose weight. Same thing. You're going to have to go work out every day. You can't work out on this Tuesday and not for 3 more weeks and then eat 13 candy bars in between. Like, it just doesn't work. You have to have consistency. So Stacey really showed us how to give consistency and to fine tune our tracking, because we were always tracking, but now I know what I'm tracking for. Just like Janelle said, like, I can really look up and say, well, who has referred me lately and how many referrals have I? It feels awfully slow this summer. Is it? Oh no. If I'm looking at my tracking, I've actually had just as many over the past 3 months than I did in the first half of the year. So the tracking is key, and just staying relevant with people in the community and your clients, and expanding that reach and that network.
Yeah. So the thing, I think the big takeaway, lots of things that you said were important there, but the big takeaway is the tracking it. Because I love that you said, it feels like it's slow this summer. And then you're like, oh, wait, let me go look at the data. And I know that from all the sales training I do. And also in my chairman of the board coaching, it's like, I will say to people, like, how many, projects did you have last year with design fees of, above 20,000? Oh, it was, probably 3 or 4. And I'm like, actually, I don't want to guess. I want to know. And then they'll come back and they'll be like, we had 7. I'll be like, that's right. Like, so the what your brain remembers, and your brain is biased, right? If you're feeling slow to use your example, if the business is feeling slow in a particular summer, your biased brain is going to say probably our referrals are down, or your biased brain is going to say probably blah, blah, blah. But when you go get the data, a lot of times, and most times, it proves something else to be true. And I love that, because that says to me, don't make assumptions about anything. Go find out what it really is. So that's awesome. Okay, Liz, I want to ask you, you specifically said, for, the year and a half or whatever, you're throwing the spaghetti at the wall. And so what's a piece of clarity, a piece of something that you do differently now with actively pursuing and cultivating the relationships that lead to referrals that was missing and you hadn't considered or thought of during that year and a half where you were paying attention to it, but not coming up with a solution?
Oh, I think everything, honestly. Some of it, what Stacey taught us is not rocket science. And I think once you learn the system, it's kind of like, okay, duh. But as an entrepreneur, you all know you're doing a million different things every single day. So Stacey helped us sort through, and she really brought clarity. So we systematized. Now we track everything. One of the biggest things is creating meaningful and memorable moments. She calls it her M&Ms. These are part of our core values now. I mean, these are non-negotiable systems. This is part of my everyday sales process. So when we became strategic about how we nurture relationships, not just with clients, but with vendors, partners, that really opened up a whole new world for us. And knowing that their endorsement of our firm could really open a lot of doors for us. So treating referrals as a strategy helped us attract not only the right clients, but ones that valued us, our process, our trusted expertise, which then results in bigger dollars, bigger projects, higher profit margins.
Yeah. Yeah. So memorable moments. That's kind of like when I was talking about when Janelle tell us, like, if the kitchen's gutted, we're going to send a gift card, right? What's another memorable moment that you have built into your process? And I know that it's special and unique to each client, the actual memorable thing, because that otherwise it's not memorable if it's just a generic, I sent you a Mother's Day card, right? But what are some of them that you've used based on whoever it was? It doesn't matter. What are some of the memorable moments that you've activated?
So there's a couple, and some of them seem unorthodox and feel really uncomfortable, quite frankly, but I did them and they're really successful. So one of the things Stacey said is send videos, text a video of yourself, just checking in with your client, your vendor, whomever. And I sat in my office one day for hours creating these videos. I think my team was like, what is she doing in there? And sending them off. And boy, does that feel strange. And the positive feedback that we got from that is unreal. We got a project from it. Yeah, just I never in a million years would have thought of that. Another thing is just we always have our ears open. So yes, we're great listeners. We have good systems, good processes. But it's listening for that thing kind of off to the side. So last week, 2 of our clients told us that their kids got engaged. So right off the door, we sent engagement cards. Another client that we worked with 3 years ago, I had checked in with her on that video message. She texted me back, oh my gosh, so great to hear from you. We got a puppy. So we sent her a puppy box and a bottle of wine. She sent me back she said, I don't know how you find the time. It's really creating those relationships that extend beyond the project.
Yeah.
So we're top of mind, but then it shows them that we're really good people too. We care about them.
Yeah. Okay, so I want to ask you one question about that, and we'll move to somebody else's ideas here. But creating that video, you got me laughing when you were like it, because I'm like, all right, that sounds exactly like the type of thing that my team is like, Lou, you should be doing this. And depending on when you hit me, I either just look at you and go, I'm never going to do it, so stop, right? Or I say, I get it. I see the value. I'm going to do it, put it in my calendar, and then I ignore it in my calendar because I'm like, I'm not really bought in, right? I'm not really sold. So I love that you did it because I've done those things too. I would say more, I'm like, but when you do a thing like that and it pays off, then you become a believer, right? That's even like that. Now you're evangelist for it, right? But like, get us to an actual example of a script for somebody who's like, I got it. I'm going to do it. Like an Amy, like I'm going to call 40 people a week. So I'm going to make videos. Is it just like, hey, Sally, I haven't seen you in 2 years, just thinking about you? Like, what is an actual, like if you really are doing a cold callback on somebody that's your client, but you haven't been in touch with?
So that's a really good question. And Stacey taught us the language is everything. So there has to be some kind of connection in that cold call. So the lady with the puppy, I haven't talked to her probably in a year, but we have a project across the street from her. So that was an easy, hey, Katie, I'm in your neighborhood all the time thinking about you. Hope you and the kids are having an easy back to school year. They were all 30 seconds or less, but they had specific language to them.
And they weren't just, like you said, car salesman. Not like, hi, Katie, haven't talked to you in a year. Just saying hi. Stacey's teaches you to find that one thing that makes the reason for the call right.
Correct. You
Gotcha.
have to make some sort of personal connection. Or I saw your neighbor at church on Sunday and we got to talking about you, so I'm thinking of you. There has to be some connection that makes that video not weird.
Yeah. And it's funny because I just did a sales training for Exciting Windows as we're recording last Thursday. And one of the points of the sales training was the follow-up, like the follow-up for the lost project, the quote unquote lost project. And my point is no project is lost unless you let go of it. Right. And so not even having Stacey in my head, just, I'm a salesperson for 40 years, 50 years, 60 years, whatever the hell it is, 50 years at this point. Right. And it's like, I was like, you've got to continue the follow-up. And if 2 months later, 6 months later, a year later, blah, blah, blah. And somebody said, well, if I'm going to reach out a year later, like, what am I going to do? And of course, I wasn't suggesting a video follow-up. That's genius. Next level. Love it. But I said a version of the same thing. You've got to find a reason. It can't just be, hey, did you buy your blinds yet? Because nobody wants that follow-up. So I love that nuance of that point, Liz. That's great. Okay. Janelle, You said that your new initiative with the teachings and the learnings and all of your business skill that you have at this point in your life is that you are working on developing the outreach, the referral, getting a referral engine going with builders, architects, realtors. Um, to Amy's point, realtors is a tough thing. So I would say I would rather you tell us your strategy for builders and architects, because entry level, I think that's easier than realtors. Realtors are sons of guns. I mean, they really are. I mean, it's like my experience with them is, if you ain't putting money in their pocket, they don't care. And they also, in my experience, have a hard time understanding the value of a really good interior designer, unless they're also really, really luxury realtor, right? But they're just, their business, their interaction is moving too fast. Get a house, sign a house, show a house, sell a house, move on. So talk to us about some strategies that you're using around builders and architects, Janelle.
Okay, well, I'll give a high level of what we're doing for all three, and then we'll dive into whatever one that you want to do, that you want to dive into. So we created something we're actually super proud of. And I know that the listeners can't see this, but since I'm seeing you face to face, I'm going to show you a little sneak peek. Created this. It's literally magazine-worthy publication that goes through our work. It's called A Partnership Introduction, and it's printed at a really high quality magazine level print company. And it walks through our process, our collaborative approach. It speaks to builders and architects. And we specifically, in the collaborative partnership approach section, specifically spoke to those architects that want to take the lead on everything. Right? We all know who those architects are. Some say, hey, I'm going to do the shell. You guys do your thing on the inside, right? Liz is nodding her head. Yes. It's like there's a lot of architects that let us do our thing, but then there are architects, Patrick Ahern is in our area. He's one of those architects we have yet to work with, but he takes the lead on everything, and we will follow his lead on all of the interior elements. So we were very intentional about the communication. So in this, we have one is collaboration by all partners, where new construction and renovation projects involve an architect, the design team, and the builder, and we all collaborate. Then we have a section that speaks to the builders that don't involve projects with architects. So it's designer led and collaboration with just the contractor, and it speaks what our involvement looks like in those scenarios. And then we have an architect led, which is what I just spoke to, when it's really we're falling into place. The architect generally leads, and we provide, we integrate the interior elements into their detailed architectural plans. So it really speaks to all of those different audiences within one publication. And then we have, throughout that, we're really trying to showcase, our process is probably, if we're being honest, not drastically different from all of us on this call, or like, right. We all have a pretty, I think, tightened up process. We all produce really great work. But there are nuances between firms, and our firm is a super technical firm. We're highly technical. So we have what I would consider top-notch drawings. And so we have a whole section on highlighting what our technical deliverables look like. This is not anything I would ever put in front of a client, right? But it is something that I think when some builders or architects look at this, they go, oh, you do those sections, you do these coffered ceiling detail drawings. Whereas in some designers do that for sure, but a lot of them don't. And so it really, I think, allows the partner that we're trying to get that referral from to know what our capabilities are. And I think that that's really important. So this publication, as I would call it, it provides a lot of that information, and then of course goes into some of our favorite portfolio projects that we send in a fabulous, and I mean fabulous package where it was custom. I wish I actually had it to show you. I'll have to send you one where you open it up and it has our logo on the outside. You open it up and it has design is in the details, and it's the way that it's packaged. Every layer that you open, it kind of continues to tell the story. So that's what we're doing for builders and architects.
Love it. I love it.
For realtors, we created this realtor program, which is a much smaller, because their attention span is much smaller.
They got to get to the open house and stick the sign in the yard.
Exactly. And so this is really just positioning us as their partner, and allows us to have a relationship with them that we want to be a resource for them. So if they're trying to sell a property and they need help, sharing the vision, or like understanding or help a client or potential buyer understand what's possible with a property, we want to be a resource for them. Because, and this is just in our situation, because our builders and architects, those referrals are reciprocal. We're referring them out, they're referring in. It's this sort of back and forth, back and forth. That's less so with realtors, which I think is really tricky for us. So we are actually looking at it under a different lens. And it was a little, in full transparency, it was a little difficult for me to sort of get behind. But there is a compensation component to the realtor side. And the only reason that I'm okay with that is because we're not referring out realtors.
Right.
People don't come to us and say, I want to buy a house or I want to buy a piece of land. Generally, they've already done that before they come to us. So, to be determined, this is very new, so I can't give you any data, but we did partner with, I shouldn't say partner, we did collaborate with a realtor that we're super friendly with, kind of a family friend.
To get and feedback and stuff.
Exactly. To say, here's what we're thinking. Do you think this would resonate? And she said, absolutely, I think it will. So we sent them out, but to your point, not a huge reaction so far. So I'm like, did it fall flat? Are they just busy? I don't know. But it's something that we need to continue to follow up on. And that's sort of the next phase, is now that we've gotten these all out, to then communicate with those realtors. And I'm sure it will be mixed depending on how busy they are. To see who wants to be a part of the program and who's actively going to build the relationship. The reality is, Luann, we don't need 30 or 50. We just need like 5.
Exactly.
Like, let's build a relationship with 5 great realtors that are constantly sending.
They're selling the multiple $million homes. That's
exactly.
At
and
the beach, right, Janelle?
Exactly. And when we did send this out, we very specifically, sort of painstakingly, went through all of the realtors in our area and only selected, and we sent out about 50, I think, only selected the ones that were representing the multi-million dollar properties.
Right. It occurs to me that and I think it's we both have identified the higher value is architects and builders, realtors, but why leave them off the table? Who knows? You need one referral a year for a multiple $1 million home. It's all good, right? But it occurs to me that because of the nature of the beast of the realtors and how fast the sale goes and how their time is, and they're not really, look, you're identifying the multiple $1 million. They're going to be more involved in the service deliverables than a realtor that's, turning over $400,000 houses every week, right? So you are going to get it, but I feel like you almost need to do like a lunch and learn with them. You'd be like, I'm going to come to your office. I'm going to tell him, oh, did you do that, Liz?
I'm doing one.
Yeah,
yes.
You both have done it? Okay, good.
I'm doing one in March.
Okay. And Amy, you've done one already?
I asked a bunch of realtors and clients to have lunch with me at a really great restaurant in Pasadena one time. Just selected my favorites and kind of pulled them all together. So good for the realtor. Clients love it. So it was fun.
Okay, good. Very good. All right. I love it. So that's really, I love that, Janelle, that you have outlined the 3 different ways that you can work with these builder architect partners so that they don't make an assumption that you only do one or the other, or you can't do a part or whatever. Right. And go ahead.
Well, the other thing I was going to mention is our approach to sending these out was very intentional. So we researched, I should say, 20 20 builders and 20 architects roughly in our area that really represented the type of work and had the reputation that we wanted to work with. And very intentionally, I have it, and it was all basically for the last 9 months, a notebook of every single one reaching out personally. So it wasn't a mass email. It was very intentionally. Okay. And I had it on my calendar. This week I'm calling these 3 architects. Next week I'm calling these 3 builders. And my expectation was that I needed to get face-to-face meetings, ideally ideally to a month. If I can fit in more than that with the schedule, then great. If I can get one a week, I mean, with the schedule, sometimes tricky, but we were blowing through these meetings last summer. We were having them constantly where we'd send a package with this booklet that I was sharing with you, and they'd come in with them in their hands and they were like, whoa, I've never seen anything like this. This is so great. And it really set the stage of like the level of quality. If we're going to put this much effort into
Yes.
something. So that's what one of the builders said. He came in and he said, if you're putting this much effort into a marketing piece, I can only imagine how much effort and energy you put into your design projects.
That's
so
awesome.
There was this very methodical process to meet with very intentional builders and architects, and then continue that those touch points, as Stacey would say.
Yeah, I love the clarification there, the emphasis on it. This isn't just, put a bunch of crap in the mail and just, wait for something to happen. This is the thing that's going out, but there's a whole process of support and follow up and all the things that happen in conjunction with it. Love it. I love it. So Amy, what's some of the things that, like you went through that boot camp, you know what I mean? Of just like calling everybody and anybody. Yes, exactly. And what's something that you're doing in your firm now that's different for gathering referrals, whether trade partners, vendors, what comes to mind for you?
I mean, it's again, I think Liz said there's nothing groundbreaking about this. It's just repeat, like tweak, learn, repeat. So we actually did something similar that Janelle has done with architects. And then, following up with them. And we do a lot of events and events that are tied into like showcase houses. So we did a showcase house this past year. And so we'll do an event where we do a private, like semi-private tour, and we walk people through. And so I timed those architect gifts right before that event. So I could send them out, catch their attention, follow up with an email and a phone call, invite them to the event. Then I've got a really nice, easy, non-salesy way to get them in
like
person.
7 times getting in front of them.
Now I can build that relationship.
Yeah.
So we utilize things like that. And, we kind of tweak it for realtors because they are they're just different. They're just different people. Architects love that like book, but they're also in the same regard hard to get in front of, especially the really high end big architect firms. They are hard to get in front of. Where realtors, sure, they can also be hard to get their attention, but they love having somebody good to refer in their back pocket. So if you can show them like, I'm a reputable firm and I've got any and every client, I've got your back. I'm going to treat them exactly how you treat your clients. I'm an extension of you. You get them to understand that. And then I've had some refer me without ever meeting me in person. So, we just can, just like Janelle said too, we don't need everyone. If I could just gather 1 to 2 more architects, 1 to 2 more realtors per year, that just is another stream of, let's say, 3 more good referrals per year. All of that builds on each other over and over and over. And then you're maintaining those relationships from all the years that you took to make those connections and build with. It's a really big snowball effect after you do that for 5-10 years. It really adds up, and that's how you really like ingrain yourself in a community and get a really steady, solid referral base. So.
I think, and any one of you can answer this one, but I think, like you've said it, it's not rocket science. There's nothing here you don't know. When you hear it, it's like, oh yeah, right? That's how a lot of everything that we do is, right? It's like you kind of know it. And it's like, it's funny because we've been running repeats on the show almost all summer long. And I was at the ASID New Jersey Expo yesterday, and a very seasoned designer who I know was listening to the show in the beginning said to me, these repeats are great because it's not like I don't know the stuff, but I hear it a different way. First of all, 8, 9, 10 years later, I'm ready for different information, but it's a good reminder, like you used to do a thing. And so I want to focus on the fact that I agree with all of you that it is not groundbreaking as a concept, but the execution and the specific idea of a thing. Like Liz, you used the example of the video. That's an example of an execution of an idea that, hey, referrals are, we all say you're going to make more money, easier, spend less marketing, make more profit on a referral because, they trust you already. They're likely to go with your beautiful ideas and not worry about risk. And if it's going to look great, they trust you, right? So knowing that the idea is valid and the idea is accepted, is there anything that any of you would like to share as another actual? So we've got Janelle's booklet, you've got your video, Amy, you have your hand up, like a specific thing.
Well, I think you touched on it too. Like for some reason, this is really not that difficult and not that hard, yet it is the thing that falls to everybody bottom of their list. Like for some reason, people struggle to do this on a consistent basis. And then you'll get inspired and then you might reach out to a couple people and then that falls to the wayside. And then 3 months go by because you got busy. There's something about it that keeping it on a consistent basis. And the idea is like Liz talked about, finding the dog box that she could send to her client. Like you have to spend active time coming up with those creative ideas. They're not just sitting in the waiting. So it's about gathering, like I'm taking notes here. I actually took notes on Liz's suggestion and I didn't know Janelle sent gift cards in the middle of a kitchen renovation. Great idea. I have a list. I'm adding that to my list of ideas. And there are also times where I get really stuck on this. So what I'll do is tap into, like Janelle and I actually know each other. And we know another group of designers. And so or even just business owners, if I get stuck, I will say, oh my gosh, I know I need to be doing this. I feel stuck. I don't know how to start. I haven't done enough. What do I do next? I'm going to call up my network, whoever it is, whoever I'm like, who's going to give me some good ideas and say, can we go grab lunch? Can we go grab coffee? They're probably going to walk away with just as many ideas as I'm going to walk away. It unsticks me. And then I have a staff, so I can rely. I tell them, I'm like, you're just as much as my boss as I am yours. Please hold me accountable to this. So I have somebody in my office whose job is to be really annoying and I can't stand it. I tell her, I'm like, I can't stand it that you're making me do this again this week, but you're right. I need to reach out to this person. And then I'm like, but I'm not doing it because of this. And this was 2 weeks ago and she was like, but you told me that last week. And I'm like, I know I did. And then what did I do? I put it on my list and I read because I go back and forth. I'm not always in town. And so I needed to line up my next round of coffees. And if I didn't do it, I was going to miss my opportunity. So it's about really documenting, following, being consistent, relying on your network, and you can't get complacent because that's when you don't do it.
You know that some of your clients want recliners, right? And you're thinking, please don't make me put that in that room. Well, Kravit just gave you a gift. Their new line, Kravit Motion, is all about comfort without the clunky eyesore. We're talking sleek silhouettes, tailored arms and backs, gorgeous details, and yes, it reclines, but in a way that actually works with your interior design plan. So whether it's manual, plug-in, battery-powered, it's all high-end, all low maintenance, and you can customize it with curated fabrics and finish options that fit your design vision. So if you've been avoiding motion furniture, it's time to take another look. Head over to Kravit.com and check out Kravit Motion, because form and function finally just called a truce. So I love it. Liz, you want to add to that?
Yeah, and I think Amy touched on it beautifully. It's incredibly time consuming. Don't get me wrong. This is not just something that you can do once a week. This is my full-time job, and my whole team knows that. But I have a team. So if you're a solopreneur, I think it becomes a lot harder to do all of the things and the meaningful and memorable moments just because your brain is so full.
Yeah.
But this is one of those things that it's working smarter, not harder. And Luann, you said it earlier in the interview. I had lunch with a designer last week and we were talking just about this, referrals. And I said, if you asked me today if I was more profitable than I was last year, I would have told you no. But because I actually know the numbers, we are more profitable. But I'm not working as hard. I'm not killing myself.
Oh, so it feels like you must not be making more money because you're not working as hard.
Yes,
I love that you have the data to show you.
Yes, if I didn't know the data and we were tracking everything, it doesn't feel as hard.
Yeah. I love that for you. I love that for you.
And
You
can
know,
I
yes,
add one
please.
more thing, Lynn?
Sure.
I have not done this just once. I've done this multiple times because I moved from the Midwest and started a business in Southern California. And then my husband's job moved us to the East Coast. I kept my West Coast business, let it continue to run. And I was like, well, I got to do something on the East Coast. So I went and took the same formula where I started connecting, calling people. I knew no one. I live in Northern Virginia outside of D. I knew no one. So I'm like, well, what group can I start? I need to meet someone because that someone knows someone else. And I went and I did the same thing. And with I literally say, and I've actually helped other younger designers develop and build it this way too, is just start, just do, be consistent, and it will start to come back to you. And I've seen it happen with other people that I've worked with, and I've done it twice in my own business. So it works. You just have to commit to it. Like, almost don't worry about what the outcome's going to be and when it's going to come. Just do. Just wake up and do every day. This is your job. Just wake up and do. It will come. So
yeah, I love it. Something to add there, Janelle, or no?
No, I mean, Amy and Liz are on point with all of that. It takes time and energy and consistency and really a plan. And that's what it boils down to.
That's what it is, right? You know, Amy, in the beginning, you made an analogy to exercise, right? And we could say the same thing. You know, if you want to gain muscle mass, lose fat percentage, it's not rocket science. We know how to do it. It is fully available. Any person that has ever paid attention to anything knows lift weights, do cardio, eat less, fat, calories, blah, 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 right? Eat less sugar, processed foods, right? But the doing it is a whole different thing. It's like you could do it for a day and then you could fall off the wagon. You could do it for a week and then you could fall off the wagon. You could have really great results because you did it for 3 months. But it's not like a do it for 3 months and I'm good. It's like, nope, that was the first 3 months. I have the rest of the 3 months for the rest of my life. Like I have to, right? Liz, go ahead.
Yeah, this is Liz. And you kind of have to do the Ted Lasso saying, be a goldfish. Throughout this, you are going to experience a lot of rejection, a lot of unanswered calls, unanswered emails, and you just have to get up every day and keep going because that's the only way it's going to work.
Yeah. Janelle, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, I was just going to touch on, we talked about tracking earlier on in the interview, and I know a lot of people track who's coming in from referral, what are the sources. That's sort of, as my husband says, table stakes, right? Like that's basic what everyone should be tracking in terms of sourcing. But I would challenge people that aren't doing it to take it to the next level and to put dollar amounts next to that. So go back at the end of, I have an Excel spreadsheet, use whatever works for you. Go back at the end of that relationship that was from a referral. I actually have it in my referral tracking document. I have a column for design fee and I have a column for product, like what the total amount is, and profit. So I can go back and track how much revenue and profit came from these referrals. And if you add that up over the course of a year, that might be really eye-opening, I think, to a lot of people. Because as you had made an analogy earlier of like, oh, it's a few, and it ended up being 7, and you're right, like if you're not aware, and I think if you look at that data, and this was when I was working with Stacey, this was part of what we did, and I came to her and I said, oh my goodness, like it was $750,000 in referral business when I had very little before, like the year before that. I didn't even have a dollar amount associated with it. But seeing that jump in that particular year back in 2021, and now that's just exemplified, right? Like, because now we're working on much larger size projects. And if you look at what the financial impact is for your business, that's going to put a fire.
That gives you the juice.
It'll light a fire under your butt, right? Because then you back to what Amy said about consistency. You're really going to say, okay, well, I'm going to put something on my calendar every week. I actually have Mondays at 11 a.m. as my referral block. Like I sit down, and those are the times that I work on. Now, sometimes things happen, right? We all run a business, but at least it's intentional, and we make the choice to say, yes, I'm choosing to work on this client deadline versus a referral block, but it is time that we're consistently dedicating to work on that. And so I would encourage people that that don't go to that next level to go back and look at all the referrals, and then look at their data and put some dollars associated with it. And if you see that you brought in, a number that's unbelievable to you, whatever the size of your business is, then that should be encouraging to continue doing those activities.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. It's like, it's again, to keep on the exercise and the fitness analogy, it would be like showing up and doing all the work, but never starting with the baseline. What is your muscle fat per ratio? How much do you weigh? What are your triglycerides? What's your resting heart rate? Like, because how many times do you do something like that? And 3 months later, maybe you don't see a lot of difference, but the data says, wow, you've increased your muscle percentage by 2%. You have lowered your resting heart rate by 2 beats. Like, you're like, oh, okay, the jeans aren't quite loose yet, but I'm going in the right direction, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
That's perfect.
It's so true. Without knowing it, we make it up. And we make it up, I have to tell you, what's so funny is this is a sexist thing, but men make it up in their favor. Women make everything up in their disfavor. I don't care if it's how much improvement we've made in our business, how much improvement we've made in our health journey. I don't care what it is. Men will be like, yeah, I mean, I'm doing pretty good. I think I blah, 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 blah. It's blah, blah. And women are like, I don't know. I'm just not getting it. It's just not happening. I'm doing all the things. Like, it's like bonkers, I just, listen, Vin and I just hit 39 years last week. And I'm just telling you, the man is always going to assume he's doing better than he is or thinks he is. And I just look at him sometimes and I'm just like, God, to be like that. It's always there. But it's in their DNA. I think we just, all of us got in a different line. What's funny is I just said that like flip. But you know what? Like, a different podcast, like Mel Robbins would explore, what do we do when we raise our daughters and raise our sons that programs that in? We got to
For
call
sure.
Mel's got to do a show on that. That's not my lane. It's her lane. Right? Okay, guys, you guys have been so incredible. Literally, the ideas, like Amy said, she's got ideas from the two of you. You guys, Liz was raising her hand. I've got ideas, right? So good. Let's leave do a couple of things as we close out. Take this wherever you want to take it. Small, big, whatever. But what's one relationship, one client, one, thing that just, changed your business? Like, it could be any aha. It doesn't have to be with referrals. It could be, the moment I learned to do my finances. It could be the moment, Janelle, like you said, your husband hits you with, like, that's table stakes. Like, sometime when somebody just looked at you and went, yeah, thanks, that's great, but you should do that. Is any moment come to mind that could be the spurring of an idea for a colleague listening? Something along because you're all seasoned and you all do high level projects. So there's a trajectory in that. Go ahead, Janelle.
So you had said at the beginning of that question, relationship. And I think if I were to look at, we've been categorizing builders, architects, realtors. And then there's obviously those ancillary professions, whether it's professional organizers or financial advisors or other people that work with high net worth individuals. And that's all well, fine and good. But for me, it's less about the category of person. Yes, architects and builders are incredibly important. But that being said, it's more about the type of person. You could have a brilliant architect and a talented builder, but they're just not hardwired to refer. So you could put a lot of energy and time into trying to build this relationship and you're hitting a dead wall. And to me, it's about finding the connector. And
Gotcha.
The connector is someone who loves what you do, values what you do, and sings your praises. And those people are the ones that you really want to nurture those relationships. We've been fortunate enough where we have a few of those. And It is unsolicited praise. It is amazing how we'll go on, a walkthrough, and this builder is just constantly saying the most amazing things. And I'm like, I swear I do not pay him to say this. So I think it's finding those people that you've had a little bit of an experience working with potentially. Maybe they didn't refer a project to you. Maybe it was the client brought the builder in. I'm using a builder as an example, but it could really be anyone. And you met on the job and you had a great working experience together, and you continue to nurture that relationship. And I find that where you have opportunities, like, try not to spread your referrals out too wide. It's similar to like when you think about your vendors, like your, upholstery manufacturers, for example, you don't want to have 100 of them, and then
No.
they don't feel valued by you, right?
Right.
So similar with the referrals, in my mind, we just want to have a very small network of really talented tradespeople and partners to work on projects with, that maybe they're slightly different in ways that make sense for different projects. There's not like a ton of overlap. Some might be they only do new builds and there's a reno project and we need someone else. But have a small network that you're referring those people out every opportunity that you get. I had a call last week, and it was, I don't have the project yet. And I said, do you have a builder? And she says, no. I go, oh, here's who I think you should look into. I didn't even have the project yet.
Yes.
But I used that as an opportunity. And I said, I'll follow up with an email. I'll send you the info.
Yes.
Your architect that you're already working with, I believe, has already worked with this builder. And so even if she doesn't go with me, I hope she does. But
yeah, but you're being helpful. You're paying it forward. You're letting her know the collaborative aspect of what this is. And you're building the relationship with the builder and the architect, saying Janelle talks about us, right?
Absolutely. And so I hope that she will call them, and then they say, okay, well, Janelle and Blakely Interior Design is referring us, even if they don't get it. And if we don't get it, and who knows, maybe we'll both get it. It'll be a happy dance. But my point is keep that network fairly small in terms of who you're building those relationships with. Because and I think we've all listened, Amy have all said, we don't need 50 to 100 network. We just need a couple, as we build on those every year, and you find the right people that you can refer out to for certain reasons, and then nurture those relationships.
Love it. I love it. I love it. Awesome. So you guys can either choose to answer that question, or you could pick the other question that I have here for the end of the show is, for a designer listening, what's the first thing they should do if this is a new idea? So do you prefer to center on that inflection moment or something that you learned which changed the trajectory of your business, or a first step for somebody listening? Anything come to mind, or any other final idea or thought you'd had on your mind to share on your own?
I'll build a little bit. I'll build on what, this is Amy. I'll build on what Janelle said a little bit. And it was a defining moment. And it went right back to that first experience where I was calling all those realtors, architects, and contractors. And one of the first people I met was an architect, the same one that I still do business today. And he is that connector that Janelle's talking about.
Yes.
And so what I learned from having coffee with him was, I mean, he's a wonderful person, like absolutely wonderful. And he connected me to a realtor and to a builder. And so there was a light bulb that went off in my head. And I said, well, I don't need to go to all these coffees saying, and are you going to refer business to me? Sometimes it's just an introduction. And sometimes it's like, hey, do you know anybody who might be a good fit? I have an up and coming project and I'm looking for a new architect. Or do you know any realtors that are a good fit? And so just utilizing those connections to open doors to other connections. Same thing for realtors. I might ask a client who loves us and say, hey, who is the realtor who sold your house? Just in casual conversation, and they drop a name and say, would you mind if I reach out to them? We're always trying to broaden our network and reach out to new people. And so just utilizing your connections, I guess it's answering both questions, utilizing your connections to further your connections and find other ways to meet new people. And it's not such a cold introduction. It's not such a hard introduction, and kind of, going on and on with that type of system and method to find the new people that you want to make a part of your community and that are right for you and the projects that you service.
I love it. I love it. Thoughts from you, Liz?
I think both Janelle and Amy nailed it. A little piece of advice that we've already talked about is just start. If you're the solopreneur, start doing something to build those relationships.
Yeah, just get going, right?
Yes. Start and don't stop.
Get to the gym, right?
Yes,
Go ahead,
yes.
Janelle.
I'd love to add one thing to that. I know I already did my closing, but I have one more
That's
thing to
okay.
say.
That's
So,
okay.
one thing that I think that especially younger designers that are newer to the scene something that they can do to help jumpstart referrals. And I really wish someone had told me this 14 years ago. Find another designer that's 10 years ahead of you. Meet with them, sit down with them, ideally someone that you love their work, that you're like, you do amazing work. I can't wait to be you in 10 years, whatever that is, and say, I know that you're working on these types of projects, full service, new construction, whatever it is. And say, I'm just starting my business, or I'm 2 years in and I'm trying to develop. I'm way behind you. Obviously, they're not going to see you as a threat because you're in totally different phases of your business. And say, I would really welcome an opportunity for those that are not a fit for you to refer them to me. It is amazing, the opportunity. I actually wish that I have someone now that I could refer to, because we don't
ready
take
for
on
the emails, girl. Get ready for them.
right. So it's because we don't take on certain types of projects. And so I always want to leave a lead conversation and say, you know what, it's not a fit for us, but here's who I can refer you to, because then everyone wins.
Yeah. No, I remember, it's first of all, the moment that made sense to me, I don't know why I have the hardest time keeping her name in my head. She's a beautiful designer. Her work is beautiful, a beautiful young girl. I want to say she's in Minneapolis area. It's so crazy. The weird things that I remember. And this woman is so memorable to me. And every time it comes to my head, I'm like, is her name Julia? Or is her name Julie? It's like right on the tip of my tongue. But I remember her saying she built her business because she got Shea McGee's turndowns.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And now
Brilliant.
she's as big as whoever ever could be. Right. And so the point is, that was the aha moment for me. And like when we do our lunch and learns at Window Works and everything, I'm constantly going, oh, you just started? You're in this area? Oh, this lady, this designer, she's 10 years ahead, because you do have to have the people you refer a project up to and a people you refer a project down to. Because to your point, Janelle, it's no different when you referred a contractor to a client that you didn't get yet. When you don't want a project, rather than just hard, cold, no, it's not right for us, but here's a fabulous other firm. So
Absolutely.
I love that. Liz, one thing I wanted to ask you, and you may have come up with something else, but I wanted to ask you before we go, and I pretty much suspect you're all qualified to answer this, but when we think about these outreaches that all of you are talking about, the phone calls to the builders and the architects, and, Janelle, in your book, your publication that you made and all of that, there has to be some discernment on, you got to know your lane. It's like, you can't be, whatever, and ask J-Lo out for a date, right? Like, you could be amazing, but you're not even in her pool. She's not gonna, so how you have all reached a level of success that I know could walk in on any job, any size, any project. You can handle it. That's who you are. That's what you've worked for. That's where you're at. But there's a moment, whether it was 2 years ago or 5 years ago, where you knew, like, gosh, even if I got that referral to that builder, I'm not prepared to do that level of work yet. And we can do the referral system with consistency and commitment to it that attracts that, but we've got to be able to deliver. So do you have any words of advice for utilizing this type of concept, but really helping somebody identify their lane? Or am I mistaken? Will most designers just know that builder's out of my reach just yet? I don't have the chops to show up and ask for a project or a referral from him. Because I know that you've built, your firm up to the top levels there.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great question. And we talk about that almost with every touch point, because they are highly personalized. So even just with clients, if we're sending out something happy and we know that they just had a death in the family, we're not sending them the happy, fuzzy gift. They're going to get something else. And I think that translates to, if you're building your business, you really have to focus on knowing your strengths and knowing your bandwidth.
Yeah.
Because nothing will damage your reputation faster than accepting that project that you have no business being on, not because you're not talented, just because you're not there yet.
Right. You don't have the process in place. You don't have the back operation set up, right?
So before you embark on contacting every big architect builder, and who knows if one of them bites, before you do that, you have to look at your systems, you have to look at your team, look at your vendors, make sure those relationships are rock solid so that you can feel really good about those referrals that come in.
Yeah, yeah. Like that's the thing. You gotta know what you're going out to attract that you can deliver.
Yes, your back end and your systems in your team, you talk about systems all the time. If you don't have systems in place, you have no business even asking for referrals. So really making sure that you have a strong foundation.
Yeah, yeah. It reminds me of a silly, visual that comes to mind. It's like, if you put a fishing pole out into the ocean and, you're just one person standing there and you catch a whale, like how are you reeling that whale in? So if you really only have the strength to roll in a trout, or a trout is freshwater. I'm mixing up my fishing analogies as if I should even be making fishing analogies. Let's start there. Okay. But you get my point. I'm just like, how am I bringing this big fish in? I don't have the strength to do it. It's like, right. You have to know your bandwidth, your capabilities, what you can deliver, because you will. That's why I'm so glad that I had no idea how you were going to answer it, but that's what I was going for. You will ruin your reputation before you build it. And we all want everybody to take as much work as they can, to attract as much work as they can. But what you guys do as designers is highly intricate, and it is expensive work, and you're entrusted with people's life savings, and that can never be overlooked. That whole act as if it's like, well, kind of not going to really apply here, right? So I love that you centered on that. Well, you guys are great. I just love it. And of course, the shout out to Stacey for helping each of you just level your business up to, more efficiency, more, referrals. And obviously it's converting into more profitability. And according to Liz, with less hours. And so she's feeling so darn relaxed. She thought she was going broke, for crying out loud. So thanks so much, guys, for joining me today. It was awesome.
Thanks, Luann.
Thank you, Luann.
Thank you.
We have now heard from 6 different interior designers in all parts of the country across 2 episodes about how they've transformed their approach to referral marketing with Stacey's help. And I am more convinced than ever that this is where many of us are leaving money on the table. And what strikes me the most is how, on one hand, the results, the transformations are so similar, despite the specific tactics being unique and different to each of the design firms and their owners, right? Whether it's Rebecca asking clients what they'd say if they referred her, or Liz sending those awkward video messages with a personal connection, or Darcy hosting the industry mix and mingle, or Janelle creating the stunning publication, they're all doing the same fundamental thing. They're being intentional about building and nurturing relationships instead of just sitting on the sidelines wishing and hoping that referrals will happen. Let's talk about Liz for a second, because her story highlights something I see often. She told us that she's more profitable this year, but she's not working as hard. And you know what? She only knows this because she's tracking everything. Right? I love that about you, Liz. Because without the data, Liz might have assumed the opposite, because business feels easier to her this year. That right there, that's why so many of us underestimate our own success. We're wired to think if it's not hard, we must not be doing enough. But the data doesn't lie. And our feelings about the business, well, they can be wrong, right? So that's why data is so important. And then the story about sitting in her office for hours, making those video messages, feeling ridiculous. This is her words, with her team probably wondering what the heck was she doing? But then the positive feedback rolls in, and she gets a project from it. That's where Stacey's teaching about language being everything comes in. Liz learned you can't just send a generic thinking of you video. You need the personal connection, mentioning you're working on a project in their neighborhood or referencing something specific. That's what makes it not weird, right? Even though it might feel weird to do it. I get it, Liz, right? But that's also what makes it work. And then Amy's point about consistency hits hard, right? And it echoes what we've heard from all three designers in the first episode as well. You can't work out on a random Tuesday, eat 13 candy bars in between and expect results, right? Isn't that exactly what most of us do with referrals? And honestly, with most of the marketing? We reach out to someone and we think about it. When we think about it, we send a holiday card, maybe an Instagram post for a week, and then we wonder why we don't get results. Rebecca went from 18 referrals a year to 40 through consistency. Janelle brought in $750,000 in referral business by being intentional. The stuff works. Stacey's got it dialed in, but you have to do it. And then Amy's story about those 4 months of cold calling before getting her first project. Most people would have quit after 4 days, okay? But here's what's even more impressive. She didn't do it just once. When her husband's job moved him again, she used that same formula to build her business on the East Coast while keeping her West Coast clients. That is not luck, my friends. That is a proven system. And the fact that the architect she met during that brutal cold calling phase still refers projects to her today, well, that is what I call playing the long game for a win. I also loved Amy's honest take on the different challenges with different referral sources. Yes, those high-end architect firms are incredibly hard to get in front of, right? But realtors, might be easier. They love having a reputable designer in their back pocket, someone they can trust to treat their clients as an extension of their own business, part of their team. And if you can meet a realtor and position yourself in that way, you are solving a problem for that realtor, and that's how you become valuable. Now, here's the thing I want you to hear from both episodes. You have to make sure your back end is solid first before you blow your business up, right? Liz said it. Nothing will damage your reputation faster than a project landing that you're not ready to handle. You have to know your lane, and you have to be honest where you are today, not where you want to be someday. And if you're just starting out, also remember Janelle's brilliant advice about finding a designer 10 years ahead of you and offering to take her turn down projects, right? Those relationships, you build them up and you build them down. I'm constantly saying that to you in real life. Have somebody that you can refer a project to that no longer is a right fit to you, and be referable by a designer that's further along than you are, right? And if you've been telling yourself business is slow, here's a reminder. That's not your signal to have a pity party and just say, oh my goodness, it's everybody else's fault. It's the economy. It's all the things. No, this is your call to action. These 6 designers across these 2 episodes didn't pull back when things got quiet. They doubled down on building real relationships. And look what happened. Referrals, growth, momentum. If you've been waiting for the market to change, or I don't know, Ghostbusters to come, I don't know what you're waiting for, but I got news for you. You're self-employed. You have to do the selfing part, okay? So here's what's also very clear across all 6 of these stories. Referrals and a system for referrals, it's not rocket science. You know how to do the things that Stacey helps you along and, uncovers for you. It's the execution. That's where the magic happens. And so the part that might be missing is the accountability that you get when you work with somebody like Stacey. Okay? That might be the missing part for you. All right? And if that is, don't hesitate. You see the value. You see the ROI. Okay? Someone can teach you the right language to use with past clients, the confidence to recognize your own expertise, the strategic thinking to help you turn networking into a systematic referral machine. Okay, these women were already successful. Stacey's guidance, though, helped them unlock a level of intentional relationship building that has truly transformed their businesses. Right? So I would say if this conversation lit a fire under you, definitely get into Stacey's work. She has her own podcast. She has her chapter in my book. She has her own 2 books. She has her own coaching programs. Okay. And as I mentioned in the intro, she is a member of the boardroom for creatives. Okay. So there's lots of ways to dip your toe in the water and get to know Stacey and get to understand if this is going to be a way that maybe you are going to intentionally work on your pipeline this year. Okay. Now, I have a challenge for you. Pick one thing from today's episode or from the first episode and commit to it. Maybe it's sending one video message this week to a real personal connection. Maybe it's asking your favorite client what they would say if they were to refer you. Maybe it's tracking the actual dollar amounts from your referrals. Maybe it's reaching out to a designer friend when you are stuck. Just pick one thing and do it. And then try and do it again the next week and the next and the next. Put it on your calendar. Make it non-negotiable, right? And get someone to hold you accountable. All righty. Thank you so much. First of all, thank you, Stacey, for sharing these success stories and these wonderful clients of yours with me, because I love to see the real results happening in real life for the designers that we both work with every day. And thank you, ladies, Liz, Amy, and Janelle, for being so generous with your time and your wisdom and for sharing what's been working for you. You know, each of you are listeners of the show. You've all shared that with me. And you know how valuable it is when you get one good idea from a colleague who's been successful. And thank you for listening and showing up. I sure appreciate that you do. Decide to be excellent. Thank you for joining me today. This podcast is a production of Luann Nigara, Inc. If you want to know more about me, my books, or Luann University, go to luannnigara.com. And if you are interested in having WindowWorks help you with your next window treatment or awning project in the New York, New Jersey metro area, go to windowworksnj.com to learn more. Have an excellent day.